An actor's headshot is an interesting thing. It's like a business card that advertises your services, but you keep changing the services that you're selling. In general, actors in LA will have at least two types of headshots, one called a theatrical and one called a commercial. They're sort of generic, one a serious drama, and one that's happy and inviting. But often you're encouraged to get extra shots that show your specialty type. Like say, the dumb jock, the girl next door, the wise bartender, the nerd. See, when casting directors are casting for a specific role and have to go through literally thousands of headshots in a day, a headshot with a very clear type just makes their lives easier. You've heard of it, it's called typecasting, because you're casting for a type. Now, a lot of actors don't like the idea of being typecasted because, well, very few people like the idea of being prejudged, let alone being restricted into a little box when it comes to something you're so passionate about and dedicated to. And it's not just acting. In life, few people want to be forced into a role, especially if they don't see themselves in that role. You don't want to be a role, you want to be yourself. In the Western world, we are taught that we ought not to care about what others think of our lives because we are the ones who determine it. Our destinies and the opportunities are determined solely by our choices and our drive. By us. But I think we know real life is a little bit more complex. I once attended this great photographer's workshop, and one of the exercises was role-playing a casting director who has maybe 2 minutes to spare for someone. And so they had one of the attendees stand up in front, and without them ever speaking a word, we in the audience wrote down the top 5 things we immediately thought of. Just a natural vibe we got from them in the first few seconds. They could do nothing about it. Our first impression, and often in life, our only impression. We were typing them. And when it was my turn, out of 20 people, 19 wrote the word educated. 19 of 20. They had never met me and I hadn't said a word, but 95% of them wrote that descriptor. And it will stick with me the rest of my life because now I know that when I walk into a room, everyone sees the huge nerd. Now, am I educated? Am I a nerd? Okay, fine, lucky guess. But in the beginning, it was a real blow to find out that this is what people thought of me and that it was beyond my control. Because while there are certainly positives that come with this type, there are negatives. I am a target for violence. I am a target for bullying, even at this age. I will be socially dismissed. I mean, you might be doing it right now because you think I'm whining. And I wonder for a long time, would it be better if I had never known? If I were still free to naively think that I was starting fresh with each encounter. For a while, yes, I wanted that. I didn't want to be a nerd with all this social baggage, and just as much, I didn't want to be expected to be a nerd. Now, the first part of that, I've grown to accept and maybe embrace. But that second part, the expectations, I have a much more complex view on. See, as I've grown older, I've learned to value the time that I have left on this planet. I know, cliche, but I really mean I value that time. And with that, I've learned to accept what many people see as painful realities of the world. I know that it is highly unlikely that I will be able to change the world in my lifetime in order to enjoy the freedom of not having a stereotype. And I'd rather know what that unfair judgment in me is, so I can work with it. So I can incorporate that variable into my life plans. I want to maximize what I can make of this life, and knowing the realities of the battlefield is fundamental to doing that. The world will type me. Now, I do want to stress that I am an American, and that carries with it a certain entitled outlook on life. I do feel entitled to not having stereotypes dictate my life opportunities. I do feel entitled to define myself by my actions, my dreams, and my achievements, and not by the shallow impressions of others. Accepting the realities of the hand dealt to me so that I can work with them is not the same as accepting the immorality of the situation. The situation is unfair. I stand on the moral high ground here, and I have the right to say that it is the world that needs to change in this situation, not me. And I will fight for that change that's needed, while I also chill out and enjoy what I've got left here. But what do you think? Should I not yield even an inch and demand the immediate right to be seen as a neutral human being? Or just accept it and get what I can out of this? Would love to hear civil opinions in the comment section. I am very open to being proven wrong. You only make me better. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.